I stole a car to escape a monster, only to find out I just locked myself in the devil's private ride. The rain was a cold slap, blurring the neon signs of the alley into a watercolor nightmare. My lungs were on fire. Every breath was a raw, scraping sob. Cindy, you can't run from me, you bitch! His voice, my ex's voice, was too close. Rick. He was a monster, and his footsteps were the heavy, terrifying thud of a nightmare I could never wake up from. He'd found me at my new job, and the look in his eyes, it wasn't just anger, it was possession. I tripped over a pile of trash bags, sprawling onto the slick pavement. Pain, sharp and hot, shot up my ankle. No, not now. He laughed. There you are. I scrambled, my nails scraping the brick, and pulled myself up. I limped out of the alley onto the street, my chest heaving. And I saw it. A car. A sleek black obscene, jelly expensive-looking sedan parked at the curb, its engine purring. It was empty. The driver's seat was empty. It was a sign. Have you ever been so scared you'd do anything, absolutely anything, to get away? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Rick was rounding the corner. I didn't think, I just moved. I yanked the door. It was unlocked. I threw myself inside, my shaking hands fumbling for the lock, and slammed it down. I jammed the gear shift, thank God it was an automatic, and stomped on the gas. The car screamed away from the curb, and I saw Rick's furious face in the rearview mirror, shrinking until he was gone. I was safe. I was finally safe. I drove for 10 minutes, my heart a trapped bird against my ribs before I let myself pull over. I just needed to breathe. I killed the engine, and the sudden silence was deafening. I was alive. I was free. That's when I heard the beep. I froze. It was a soft, digital sound. It came from the dashboard, from a small, dark screen I hadn't noticed. It lit up, and a single word appeared. Connected. A cold, smooth, synthesized voice, like the kind in luxury cars, spoke, making me jump out of my skin. Car 07 stolen. Do you require retrieval, Mr. Junho? My blood turned to ice. Before I could even process the words, a man's voice, cold and sharp, replied through the speaker. No, I'll handle it myself. Activate tracking. Activate tracking. The voice wasn't just cold, it was dead. It was the sound of a winter morning, sharp and empty. My blood didn't just turn to ice, it stopped moving. Wait, no, please! I screamed at the dashboard, my hands flying to the door handle. I'm sorry, he was chasing me. The door handle didn't budge. I slammed my hand against it. Locked. I fumbled with the button on the armrest, the little picture of a lock. I hammered it with my thumb. Nothing. A soft, mechanical whir sounded from the dash and the interior lights. A cold, clinical white snapped on, illuminating me, bathing me in light. I was a rat in a high-tech glass trap. Where are you? The voice, Mr. Junho's voice, came through the speakers again. It was as calm as a frozen lake. He wasn't asking for directions, he was stating a fact. He knew. Please, I sobbed, my tears hot on my cheeks. I didn't mean, I'll give it back right now, just let me out. He's gone, let me out. I was parked on a dark, industrial side street, the city's glittering skyline a cruel joke in the distance. I stomped on the gas pedal. Nothing. The engine I had killed was still dead, but the electronics were blazing. You stole from me, the voice stated. It was a simple, flat observation. Not an accusation, but a final judgment. You don't understand. Then make me understand. The voice was closer, not just in the car. I looked at the rearview mirror, my own terrified, tear-streaked face stared back. And behind me, a car. A black SUV, its headlights off, had glided to a stop about 20 feet behind us. It had been following me. How long had it been following me? The synthesized voice in the dash spoke again. Mr. Junho, the asset is secure. Your remote is now active. The locks on the car door snapped open with a single, loud clack. It wasn't a reprieve, it was an invitation. The driver's door of the SUV opened. A man, silhouetted by the distant city lights, stepped out. He was tall, perfectly tailored, and he moved with a slow, terrifying grace. He wasn't a thug. He was a king. He started walking toward me, and I knew, with a certainty that froze my soul, that I had just run from a bully into the arms of the plague. My heart hammered against my ribs, a desperate, trapped thing. I yanked the door handle again and again, my palms stinging from the force. It didn't budge. He was toying with me. The man, Jun-ho, stopped right outside my window. I flinched, pressing myself against the passenger seat, trying to become invisible. He just stood there, the rain plastering his dark hair to his forehead. He wasn't even breathing hard. He was just watching me. His face was a mask of cold perfection, his eyes as dark and empty as the night sky. He wore a black suit that looked like it cost more than my entire life. He didn't yell. He didn't bang on the glass. He just lifted his hand, and I saw a small metallic fob. He pressed a button. Click. The door unlocked. My door. He pulled the handle, and the door swung open, the hinges silent. The cold, rain-soaked air hit my face, bringing with it the smell of his cologne. Something sharp and expensive, like sandalwood and steel. He leaned down, his body blocking the weak glow of the streetlight. I was trapped in his shadow. "Get out," he said. His voice was even colder in person, a low, quiet rumble that vibrated in my bones. "Please, please, I'm sorry," I sobbed, my hands up in surrender. "He was chasing me, a man, my ex. He was going to kill me. I needed to get away." He just stared. He didn't look at my tear-streaked face. He looked at my hands, my rain-soaked, cheap jacket, my trembling body. His gaze was analytical, like a scientist studying a bug. He wasn't seeing a person. He was seeing a problem. "You are loud," he stated. What? "You are messy, and you stole my car." He reached in, his movement so fast I didn't even have time to scream. He didn't grab me. He unbuckled my seatbelt. The strap hissed as it retracted. "Get out!" I fumbled, my legs tangling as I tried to slide out. I was a mess. He was right. I was a complete, pathetic mess. And then, he tensed. It was subtle. A slight narrowing of his eyes, his head tilted, listening. I heard it too. The scream of an engine, tires peeling on wet pavement. A car, a beat-up blue sedan, shot around the corner, its high beams blazing, pinning us in their light. It slammed to a stop, blocking the road. The door flew open. "Cindy!" Rick. Oh, God. No. He was here. He'd found me. Rick's face was a mask of pure animal rage illuminated by his own high beams. "Cindy! You thought you could run from me, you stupid!" He stomped toward me, his eyes wild. I did the only thing I could. I screamed and scrambled backward, falling onto the wet pavement, trying to put the open car door between us. I was sobbing, crab walking away, my sprained ankle screaming in protest. I was trapped between Rick's hot, chaotic rage and Jun-ho's cold, silent death. "Get up, Cindy!" Rick bellowed. He was almost to me. He never made it. Jun-ho stepped out from behind the car door, moving with a fluid, terrifying lack of urgency. He was just there, a wall of black, expensive wool between me and the man who was hunting me. Rick stopped dead, surprised. He was taller than Rick, broader, and radiated an authority that Rick, with all his bluster, had never known. "Who the hell are you?" Rick sneered, trying to regain control. "Her new boyfriend?" He spat on the ground. "Get out of my way. I'm taking my property home." He put his hand on Jun-ho's chest and shoved. It was the last mistake he would ever make. Jun-ho didn't even flinch. He just looked down at the hand on his suit, his expression one of profound, clinical disgust. Then he looked up and his eyes were empty. "Property?" Jun-ho's voice was a whisper. Rick, fueled by rage, swung a wild, looping punch. I squeezed my eyes shut, but I heard it. I heard the crack of bone as Jun-ho caught Rick's fist. A high-pitched, agonized scream. I opened my eyes. Jun-ho was still holding the fist, Rick's arm bent at an angle it shouldn't be. Jun-ho hadn't even changed his expression. With his free hand, he grabbed Rick by the throat and slammed him against the side of the car. The thud was sickening. Rick gurgled, his eyes wide with a new, dawning terror. "You," Jun-ho said, his voice a low hiss, "are messy." He let go. Rick crumpled to the pavement, unconscious, his arm a broken ruin. The silence that fell was absolute, broken only by my own ragged sobs. The black SUV glided up and two men got out. They didn't look at me, they just looked at Jun-ho. He nodded at Rick. Trash. The men nodded and efficiently began to drag Rick's body. Jun-ho turned to me. I was still a heap on the wet ground. He loomed over me, his face unreadable in the dark. He reached down and grabbed my arm. Not gently. He hauled me to my feet, and I cried out as I put weight on my bad ankle. He didn't care. He opened the passenger door of his sedan and pushed me in. You're letting me go? I stammered, my mind completely broken. He got into the driver's seat, the leather creaking. He started the car. No, he said, pulling onto the empty street. You are a witness. You are a thief. And you, he glanced at me, his eyes like ice, are now my problem. He drove in a silence that was louder than Rick's screams. The city lights blurred past the tinted windows, painting his face in strokes of cold blue and neon red. He was all sharp angles and unforgiving lines. I sat there, soaking wet, my ankle throbbing so badly it made me nauseous. My entire body was a symphony of tremors. The adrenaline was crashing, leaving a sick, hollow terror in its wake. I stammered, my voice a pathetic, reedy thing. You don't understand. I didn't mean to steal it. He didn't look at me. His eyes were fixed on the road, his hands steady on the wheel. His stillness was terrifying. It made my panic climb higher. I've been running from him for 6 months, I whispered, the words tumbling out. I left everything. I changed my name, my job. I ran. He found me, tonight. He was waiting for me after my shift. He said he was going to finish what he started. The tears came again, hot and stinging. He put me in the hospital last time. I knew if I went with him, I wouldn't come back out. I saw the car. It was running. It was unlocked. It was my only chance. Have you ever had to confess your darkest, most painful secret to a complete stranger, just begging them to see you as human? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I don't have anyone, I choked out, the confession tearing me apart. No family, no one. I was just trying to live. I finished my pathetic, desperate confession, and the silence stretched. He had heard my entire life's tragedy, and he didn't even flinch. He just made a smooth, precise turn into a dark, descending ramp. We drove down, down, down into a sterile concrete bunker that looked more like a military-grade garage than a parking spot. It was silent and empty, except for the black SUV that had impossibly arrived before us. He killed the engine. The silence was absolute. He finally turned his head. His dark eyes, empty of any pity or emotion, raked over me. You are a complication, he said, his voice flat. He got out of the car. He didn't wait for me. He just left me there in the dark, the door open, a broken, useless, and very complicated thing. He left me. The door was open, an invitation and a test. My mind screamed, run. I tried. I slid out of the car, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold my own weight. The second my foot touched the cold concrete, I put weight on my bad ankle. A white-hot spike of agony shot up my leg. I screamed, a pathetic, strangled sound, and crumpled to the floor, my head hitting the open door. I lay there, a wet, sobbing heap on the dusty concrete of a monster's garage. Humiliation burned hotter than the pain. This was it. This was how pathetic my life was. I couldn't even run correctly. Tch! The sound was sharp, like a drop of water on hot steel. It came from the elevator. I pushed my wet hair out of my face and looked up. He hadn't left. He was standing there, his suit jacket unbuttoned, his hands in his pockets. He was watching me, just watching me with an expression of profound, exhausted impatience. He walked back toward me, his steps silent and precise. I flinched, curling into a ball. I'm sorry, I'll get up, He didn't speak. He crouched, his expensive suit pants grazing the filthy floor. Before I could process it, one arm was under my knees, the other behind my back. He stood, lifting me as if I weighed nothing. I gasped. My hands flew to his shoulders to steady myself, my fingers clutching the fine wool of his suit. My cheek was pressed against his chest. It was like leaning against a block of marble, but it was warm. I could feel his heartbeat, a slow, steady, unbothered thump. It was the complete opposite of my own frantic panic. He smelled of rain and sandalwood. It was the first time a man had held me in years that wasn't in anger, and it terrified me more than Rick's fists. He carried me into the elevator, the steel doors sliding shut, trapping us in a small, silent box. He didn't look at me. He just stared at the numbers as they lit up. The elevator opened directly into a room. A huge, sterile, white apartment with no personality, just expensive, soulless furniture. He crossed the room and dropped me, unceremoniously, onto a plush leather sofa. He disappeared for a moment and came back with a black first aid kit. He tossed it onto my lap. It landed with a heavy thud on my thigh. "Fix that," he ordered, gesturing to my ankle. "You are dripping on the floor." He walked to the heavy steel door he'd entered through. "Do not leave this room. We will talk when I decide." The door slammed shut, and I heard a loud, final click as a deadbolt engaged. I was alone. And I was his prisoner. I don't know how long I sat there, the first aid kit in my lap, my ankle a throbbing purple mess. Hours. The silence of the apartment was a living thing, a heavy blanket that suffocated. This was a cage. A sterile, high-tech, expensive cage. I had escaped Rick's filthy, chaotic violence only to be locked inside a cold, precise one. He'd called me a problem, a complication, a witness. He was going to deal with me. The words echoed in my head, each one a nail in my coffin. I couldn't just wait. I couldn't. I limped to the door. It was solid steel with a digital keypad. No handle on the inside. I checked the windows. They were thick, sealed, overlooking a concrete courtyard 10 stories down. An escape-proof box. My fear, cold and acidic, finally turned to anger. I was not property. I was not a loose end. I hobbled around the room, yanking on drawers. I found a small, heavy, minimalist sculpture. I grabbed it. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I wouldn't be trash he could just handle. The click of the deadbolt sliding back made my heart stop. The door hissed open. Jun-ho stood there. He wasn't holding a weapon, he was holding a tray. On it was a bottle of water, a sandwich, and clean folded clothes. My hand holding the heavy sculpture was still raised. He stopped. He looked at the sculpture. He looked at my face, twisted in a mask of desperate, pathetic rage. He didn't move, he just watched me. And I broke. "You're just like him," I screamed, the words ripping from my throat. I was so terrified, I was vibrating. "You think you can just lock me up? Tell me what to do? You think because you're rich and powerful you can just own me? You're both monsters." The accusation hung in the dead, silent air. The sculpture felt impossibly heavy. He set the tray down on a nearby table. His movements were slow, deliberate. He never took his eyes off me. "A monster," he repeated. His voice was a whisper. He stepped into the room and I flinched, raising the sculpture higher. "He put his hands on you," Jun-ho said, his voice flat. "He broke your bones. He hunted you. And I..." He gestured to the room. Stopped him. You killed him," I sobbed. "No," he said, and the certainty in his voice chilled me. "He is messy, but he is not dead. He is just... or he can never be messy again." He took another step. I didn't back up. "And now you," he said, his voice dropping. "Compare me to... that." The kindness I thought I'd seen, the lift, the first aid kit, it wasn't kindness. It was just... procedure. "You are right," I spat, my voice trembling. "You're worse. He's just a bully. You're a killer." The word, I said it. His face, which had been cold, turned to ice. The air left the room. "Yes," he said. He walked to the window, his back to me. "I was going to let you go. After your ankle healed. After my men sanitized your problem." My stomach dropped. "But you are ungrateful," he continued, his voice completely dead. "You are messy. And you are a witness who now believes I am a monster." He turned, his eyes as black and empty as a void. "You are no longer a complication, Cindy. You are a liability." He pulled out his phone. "Choi, bring the car. The girl is leaving." My knees gave out. The sculpture clattered to the floor. Leaving? Leaving where? He didn't answer me. He spoke into the phone. Permanently. Permanently. The word echoed in the sterile white room, a gunshot that killed every last bit of hope in my body. I was on the floor, the heavy sculpture cold and useless beside me. I was going to die. I had survived Rick's chaotic, hateful rage only to be handled by Jun-Ho's cold, efficient logic. I waited for the man named Choi. I waited for the footsteps. My life spooled out in my head. I saw Rick's face twisted in pleasure as he hit me. And then I saw Jun-Ho's. "You're just like him," I had screamed. But was he? My mind, frantic and terrified, replayed the night. Rick had wanted to hurt me. He fed on my fear. Jun-Ho had just been annoyed. He'd been disgusted by Rick. He'd looked at me like I was a puzzle he didn't want to solve. He brought me here, gave me a first aid kit, brought me water. He didn't enjoy my pain. He was just bothered by my presence. My words had been the lie, not his. I hadn't been appealing to a man. I'd been condemning a monster, and in doing so, I'd created one. What would you do if you knew your next words were your last? Would you fight, or would you finally tell the truth? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The click of the deadbolt slid back. This was it. My body went rigid. I squeezed my eyes shut. The door hissed open. Silence. I opened my eyes. It wasn't Choi, it was Jun-Ho. He was standing in the doorway, his suit jacket gone, his tie loosened. He looked tired. And he looked conflicted. He was just staring at me, this heap of pathetic, sobbing humanity on his floor. He had made a choice. He had come back himself. I had to make mine. I could scream, I could beg, I could fight, or I could do the one thing I hadn't done. "I was wrong," I whispered. My voice was a broken, hoarse thing. He didn't move. He just watched. I said you were like him." The tears came, silent and hot. I was wrong. He enjoyed it. He loved that I was scared. He fed on it. I looked up, meeting his cold, dark eyes. You don't. You hate that I'm messy. You hate that I'm a problem. But you don't like that I'm in pain. I pushed myself up, my arms shaking. "You're not a monster, Mr. Jun-Ho. You're just angry." His expression didn't change, but he didn't call his men. He just stood there, at war with himself. Don't make permanently be the end," I pleaded, my voice breaking. "Please." He stared at me for a long, agonizing second. Then he walked past me to the tray he'd brought. He picked up the bottle of water. He walked back and held it out. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely take it. "You are still a liability," he said, his voice flat. "But," I whispered, my fingers brushing his as I took the bottle. He took a deep breath. "But you are right. I am not him." He stood there, a wall of conflicted shadow, the water bottle a cold, heavy truce in my hand. He had made his choice. I had made mine. The silence in the room was no longer a threat. It was a question. "You are still a witness," he said, his voice flat, the coldness returning. "You know what I look like. You know where this is. I cannot let you walk out that door." I flinched, my brief hope turning to ice. "So, what now?" He walked to the window, looking down at the city lights. "Rick is gone. The world will believe he skipped town. That problem is handled." He turned back to me, his face an unreadable mask. "But you are not. You are unhandled." He took a deep breath, as if the words were physically difficult. "You have no one. You have nowhere to go. You are messy." "I'm not," I whispered, a spark of defiance returning. "I'm just lost." "Exactly." He walked over, not to me, but to the first aid kit. He crouched, opened it, and pulled out a fresh bandage roll. He looked at my ankle. "You cannot stay here. This is a secure location, not a home." He looked up, his dark eyes meeting mine, and for the first time, I saw something other than ice. I saw resignation. "I have another apartment, in the city. It's clean, it is safe. You will go there. You will be quiet. You will be safe. No one will find you." My breath hitched. You're you're not going to kill me? It is inefficient, he said, as if it were the only logical reason. He stood and offered me his hand. I am not a monster, Cindy. I am a businessman. And you are a very complicated asset I seem to have acquired. I stared at his outstretched hand. This man who had my life in his palm. He wasn't offering me freedom. He was offering me a gilded cage. But he was also offering me safety. He was offering me a life without running. I put my trembling hand in his. His fingers closed around mine, his grip firm and warm. He pulled me to my feet, his other hand steadying my waist as I stumbled on my bad ankle. We were close. So close I could feel the heat from his body, smell the sandalwood. He didn't let go. My car is downstairs, he whispered, his voice a low rumble. The one you stole. A faint, almost invisible smile touched his lips. It likes you. I looked up at this cold, dangerous, impossible man. I had run from a monster and crashed into a king. I wasn't his prisoner. I wasn't his problem. I was his. How do you define safety? Is it freedom from all danger, or is it finding one person who will stand between you and the entire world? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.